Hello everybody and welcome back to Path of Exile 2 and our Dawn of the Hunt playthroughs of various different characters. Today I'm back on the Amazon because I'm trying to finish out Act 3. Just hit the Machinarium, so we're, you know, halfway through Act 3 Cruel.
No one from camp has managed to make it to this part of the jungle.
I could just do maps, but basically we're, you know, this game is all just the same thing over and over and over again. You can't get away from it. There's a lot of repetition in this. Even trying to make content, you know. Even if you're trying to make content, there's only so much you can do within the confines of a video game. So it is what it is. I've been So this right here is the problem that I have with this game. I have no problem with the idea that you have to pay attention and you have to, like, but when you can go, especially when random monsters can make you go from full health all the way down to 0 in one hit. I'm sorry, that's a problem to me. That is a massive problem to me. I don't believe that anything should be able to one-shot you ever. Like, unless you're just massively under-equipped or whatever. But, like, this is my problem with, my problem with the approach of this game in general is just the fact that it's on the player. It's on the player to gear their character out in a specific way to make sure they have survivability. But then it's on random chance to provide you with the things that you need to be able to get the survivability that you need. So they want us to build our characters a specific way, but they don't want to give us the tools to be able to build our characters that specific way. So if you're unlucky, you're just effed in the bee, and there's nothing you can do about it. Or you put up with having to spend inordinate amounts of time trying to wait on another player to do a trade with you so you can get the gear that you need, and you have to spend a bunch of time like, I want to play the game. I don't want to spend a bunch of time getting to the point where I can play the game. You see what I mean? Like, I understand that some people really enjoy the build process and the build crafting and all that stuff. Like, that's great. I'm glad that you enjoy that. I don't want to spend my time doing that. I don't want to spend my time. I do not want to spend my time. We'll pick that up just in case it somehow ends up being better, but I doubt it. I've got this like 777 evasion on my chest there. I don't foresee changing that out. I lost track of what I was saying. You know, I don't. The more time I have to spend outside of the game, not playing the game, the worse the game is, as far as I'm concerned. Like, the more time I have to spend making it so that I can have fun playing the game. See? You see what I'm saying? Like, I just want to play the game. I don't want to have to go through and do a bunch of administrative work trying to get to the point where I can actually play the game. I can understand making it so that the super in-game content part of it requires that maybe, like, yeah, you need the dedication if you want to impress people with your ability to defeat the end game bosses. Okay, yeah, I can understand that. But I mean, just getting through the basic. If the game supposedly doesn't even really start until you get to maps, then why are you making the campaign part of this, you know, obnoxious? Why are you doing that? That makes no sense to me. Don't make the part of the game where we haven't, you know, we technically haven't even started the game yet. Don't make that obnoxious. So anyway, I know I'm annoyed right now because I died for no reason. So obviously, I'll try to pull myself back from the precipice. It's just frustrating to me. It's like, you know, the reason we play these games is because we want to experience a fantasy, a power fantasy, right? That's why you play these games. I know a lot of people say it's because they want the loot, but why do you really want the loot? It's not just to watch the number go up. You want to feel like you're a badass. That's why you play the game. And I much rather have the feeling of, you know, feeling like a badass. And then the challenge is in the super strong foes that you end up coming across. Like fighting these groups of monsters here, this should just be grindy time that you have to put in to get to the fun part, right? because it's not. I know that sounds weird when you hear it said that way, but let me kind of go into why I think that's the case. There is no way that you're going to make this part of the game fun. Not possible to do, because when you're playing a game like this, you have a couple of goals, right? One of your goals might be to find really cool gear. Well, if you're not finding the part of what you're doing where you're not finding gear, that whole part is not fun until you get to the part of, oh man, we found something really cool, right? And at least in my experience, I very rarely find anything that makes me go, oh my god, that's really awesome. Like, every once in a while you will. And that's a good thing, because, you know, if it happens all the time, you don't value it. I understand the argument, and that's fair. But at the same time, it's like, the fun part is not in overcoming these little stupid, crappy monsters that you're fighting. That's not the fun part. The fun part is actually, oh man, I got lucky in the gear drop. You can get that from fighting super easy, you know, allowing complete screen clears. You still get the same adrenaline rush out of finding something that way, versus, you know, being forced to go through a slog process of, I gotta make sure I'm careful so I don't die. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's no added value to that, because the fun part is finding the gear. It's not overcoming a challenge, right? And just like I have a thought here and I'm trying to figure out how to put it together. Just like you would get bored if you were constantly finding gear that was like epic and awesome, it makes it not epic and awesome anymore. Adjusting monsters in a way that makes them all a challenge makes it so that makes it so that none of the challenges are challenges. Because if you're constantly worried about dying and you never get that surprising, oh crap, this guy's actually tough. Right? If you're constantly worried about, oh man, I might get one shot, so I have to always be careful, then you never get the contrast that makes the actual challenge parts worth your time and make it seem like you actually accomplished something. So my argument isn't that the game needs to be easy just for the sake of being easy. It's the argument that I've always made about this stuff. It's that contrast is important. Running through these areas should not be something where I have to think very much about it. It should just be, oh, I'm killing a bunch of stuff, and then every once in a while we get the punctuation of, oh crap, this guy's actually tough. I gotta stop and think for a second. And then you have the highs and lows that give you the contrast that make those things actually feel meaningful. And it's like I said in previous videos, if all combat is meaningful, then none of the combat's meaningful, because for it to be meaningful, it has to be rare. Like, meaningful things are rare. If it becomes routine, it's not really meaningful anymore. So, I don't know, that's my argument. Like, I do try to, like, logically voice my complaints and why I have them. It's not just, you know, I want things my way and this is how it should be and blah, blah, blah. There's some of that. But for the most part, I think when I have a problem with something, there's usually a good reason for it. It's not just arbitrarily saying this sucks. There's usually a reason why it feels like it sucks. And I think that's the reason. I think that's the thing that the developers really need to, like... I don't really want bosses to be super hard, and I don't really want to have to fight a boss like 10 times before I learn his mechanics and all that stuff, but at the same time, you know, I could live with it a little bit more if the rest of the game wasn't as, like this. I don't even really know what I mean by that. I kind of don't even really know what I mean by that. Let me think about that for a second. I'm mostly just trying to say that, you know, I should be able to just kind of mindlessly grind through all of this stuff, and then I'm awoken from my stupor by, you know, oh, this guy, I actually have to stop and think about this fight because, you know, it's going to require some thought process, right? I would rather have that because it makes it so that, you know, I have a couple of different concepts rolling around in my head, and I'm trying to figure out how to put them into words that are going to make sense to the most people. When you play a game like this, one of the unspoken reasons why you play a game, or why you play video games in general, you're trying to find something to do with your time, right? And while it's noble to think that, you know, the time you spend on a video game has to have value to it, the value of a video game in itself is providing you a distraction from the real world. That's really what you're getting out of a video game. And that's really all you're getting out of a video game. You might get a little bit of prestige from a very small, limited group of people who, you know, are somehow impressed by what you did. I'm looking up the build guide because, yet again, I forgot to pull it back up. It's right here, and then I need to get to passives, so I can see what the next set of passives I'm supposed to do are. So we're supposed to go all the way up to... Oh, we're already up where we're supposed to be. So what's the next set of things I'm supposed to grab? So we are supposed to go this way up this side of the tree, and then... Oh, okay. So we're basically going up this way over to dexterity. So for a while, we're going to be doing this, I guess. The other side that they want us to do after that is critical damage bonus. Yeah, I guess we'll follow the... We're supposed to go all the way out like this, and then down here like that. That's how we're supposed to end up going. I was talking about, so you might, every once in a, you know, some people might be really good at a game. They might gain a little bit of prestige, and by a little bit of prestige, I mean like very, very, even some of the best gamers in the world, right? Some of the best and most respected gamers in the world, on the grand scale of things, are nobodies. Like, if you think that you're going to get any kind of serious attention by being an amazing gamer, the odds of that happening are extremely small to begin with. And then even if you do, like, it's great to think that, you know, people like the Ninja guy, or, you know, some of these content creators who are, you know, really huge in the gaming community, the vast majority of people have no idea who those people are. They don't know. You're not going to gain any kind of serious accolades out of video games. You're just not. You might get to the point where you can make a living. I'm not discouraging you from trying to do that. But if your goal is to gain meaning out of video gaming itself, then I think you're a little bit, I think you're off the mark a little bit. Okay? Why am I on here? It's not because I want people's attention. I'm on here because I haven't been able to figure out anything else to do with my life, and I'm hoping that maybe this will become something I can make a career out of and, make a living on for a while. You know, it would be nice if that happened. That's why I'm doing this. I don't really care about impressing anybody. It's not my goal. My goal is to try to get to the... This is our guy. My goal is to try to get to the point where hopefully... See what I'm saying? Like 2 hits and I'm almost dead. That's ridiculous. There's no reason that any of these regular white quality monsters should be able to do that kind of damage to me. Right? There's really no reason for that. So anyways, so that's part of it. But the other thing is, like I said, you can't have 100% meaning all the time. You just can't. It's just, life doesn't work that way. I gotta focus right now. Because he will follow me if I drag him around a bit. So try to burn him down. We'll drag him through some spears here. Really screwed that up. Alright, I gotta stop for a second. I can't talk while this is like, he's not nearly as hard as he used to be, but you still have to kind of pay attention. So like this fight, right? I don't mind this fight being much, much more difficult than anything else that we've done here in this area. Because that's reasonable. He's a boss. He should have some kind of a challenge. He should be some kind of a challenge. Totally reasonable. But, and you know, but even then, like, his big slams so far haven't killed me. I haven't had a single, like, he's hit me a couple of times with a couple of things, and none of them one-shot me. So if he's not able to really if he's not able to really one-shot me, why are white mobs able to one-shot me? That is a massive problem. Okay, anyways, that's it for him, so we'll do that. Got some fire resistance out of that. Now we can move on to the next area, so let's go over here. So, yeah, I got distracted, sorry. I'm not young anymore, so I can't, like, mentally multitask as well as I used to be able to. I have to stop what I'm doing to be able to think coherently about something. So yeah, that's like the biggest things that frustrate me are in this game are just the inconsistency in the experience, right? I mean, there's a couple of other things like the illusion of choice. Like you have this crazy, complicated skill tree, which makes you feel like you're going to be able to just build whatever kind of character you want. But the reality is that they program the game to where you have to have certain things covered, and there's enough of those things that you end up being super limited in the options that you actually have. You know, you're either going to do this, or you're going to do that, or you're going to do this, and that's it. You know, if you don't have enough life to be able to sustain yourself, well, then you have to commit resources to building up your life. If you don't have enough energy shield to survive things, you have to commit to things on the skill tree that are going to give you that. You have to commit to you have to pick whether you're going to do energy shield or armor or one of those things, and you know, you can't mix them up because you don't get enough benefit out of them by themselves to mix and match and, you know, have like an armor / energy shield or armor / evasion build and actually have that be something that works. Like, sort of, but not really. Trying to make sure when you get a lot of these monsters that are able to shoot from a distance, you're in a very dangerous situation. Especially when you're mostly an evasion build. Evasion's great until you get hit, and then you're screwed. And the problem with the ranged characters, the ranged monsters, are that they don't run towards you. So, like the spear field thing that I'm doing here, more or less useless against that. So we got our medium soul core. But like I said in the last playthrough that we did, where we went through this part, we can't just run to the other side and hope that it's over there, because a lot of times, like there's been more than once I found two cores sitting right next to each other, and that was.
The other one's the same.
Can't go that way because it's too full of crap. Gotta clear it out a little bit first. But yeah, I'm mostly just using my spear field at this point because it's just my best option. We were originally doing Rake or whatever, but it puts me in too close a proximity of too many monsters at a time. And when you're not in super tight quarters like this, you can just drop a couple of spear fields down as you're running, and like I can just, like right now when there's not a million of them, I can just kind of drop some down and just keep going, and they'll explode behind me as I go. Yeah, so I can just, I like run and gun style gameplay, where you don't have to just completely stop your progress moving forward, and you can still kill things as you go. I'm a big fan of that style of gameplay. So any builds I find, I'm really looking for that kind of a thing, where I basically either just apply an effect and they just die over time, or I'm able to one-shot everything really quickly and then just keep moving, and I almost don't have to stop at all. Like, that's the kind of gameplay I enjoy. Anything where I'm having to, like, I come across a group and now I have to stop my progress completely to deal with the problem, that's just boring to me. It makes it feel like a huge slog, and I don't want to do it. Because at least with this, I can just, you know, I can keep moving, I can keep going, I don't have to stop what I'm doing.
Full.
All right, back to town. We'll offload some stuff. And I think, you know, for me, that's like the biggest problem with the game is like it isn't necessarily just that they're trying to slow the fighting down. It's that the styles that they're going after tend to be something along the lines where they want you to, like, they want your progress to just stop. And you're going to deal with the threat you have. You're going to stop what you're doing. You're going to deal with this threat. You're going to spend an X number of seconds stopping to deal with this, and then you can move forward. And I don't like that approach. I really, really don't. We definitely won't be taking that or that. Get rid of that. Yeah, that's a worse option there. Let's take a look at these spears. We're already using a steelhead spear. We could pop a couple of things on that just to see. Yeah, I don't foresee that. Yeah, that's not going to go up to where we want it to be. And then this right here has a bunch. Well, we're really trying to stick with physical damage as much as we can.
Still alive.
We'll say goodbye to those, and then all of this can go in here. Goldwork Sabatons. I didn't really pay attention to that. Nope. I've already got 15% movement speed on that, and as we always say in Path of Exile, movement speed is king, so no. Armor, we're not really focusing specifically on armor. Let's see if Oswald has anything interesting. I don't think I've checked him in a while. We're really going to be looking for something that has physical damage, better than that, so doesn't look like we have anything there that's going to help us. I am going to keep an eye out for... I think I'm going to buy this and see if maybe we can get lucky with the movement speed. Because that already has a prefix on it, which means that it won't allow me to have the movement speed. Yeah, let's go ahead and grab these.
Don't come running back if it turns out to be a dud.
And then I don't... Yeah. I need like another... I want to wait for like a level 60 some odd item before I really try to invest any resources in upgrading that. Alright, let's run over this way and we'll see if maybe we can get lucky with this. Part of me wants to use an Orb of Alchemy. Part of me wants to use an Orb of Alchemy, but... what I'm hoping for is 20% movement speed. That's really what because you see it doesn't have any elemental resistances on it. When it comes to my footwear, I'm almost always only going for that. And I could use this, but I don't believe that increases my chances for the one specific thing I want to show up. But at the same time, you're only ever going to use this on a normal item. So I guess... Oh, wait, what am I doing? I guess, I knew it was going to do that. But, I mean, I guess using one of these makes it so I could use two of these, and there's still a chance. It's going to make me use two. Ah, that would be such an awesome item if I had the movement speed. I would accept a 15% movement speed if I could just... This is why we need crafting. That right there is why we need crafting. You see my resources. I don't have a crazy crap ton of resources, and I can't, like, as much as I would love to add another 100 plus evasion to my character and life and all of this stuff, I can't give up the movement speed. You gotta have it. It's not an option. Like, so now I have to disenchant it. And it hurts. It hurts so bad. I really, really do not like the forced gambling mechanic in this game. It's really annoying. Is this... Have I not... Oh, I never went back and did the Chaos Trial. We'll do that. I'll probably do that off camera.
That thing.
So yeah.
Best ask Alva.
I don't know.
From the earth.
The problem is that this game has too many people who love the very things about it that I don't like.
The hunt is on.
And the developers themselves just really love the parts about it that I don't like. And it's one of those things where it's like, what am I trying to say here? You end up just being forced to take what you can get. I liked Last Epoch. The game is fun, but it does suffer from the thing that they said, where it's like, I think it's a little too easy. I don't know if it's too easy. I think I think that they have the monster part of the equation just right. I think the bosses aren't hard. I think I agree with the idea that the bosses aren't difficult. And any of the more difficult opponents you come across just aren't difficult enough. You're able to just kind of breeze your way through the game completely. And I do think that there needs to be some resistance. I agree with the idea that there should be parts of the game that are just really challenging. And I agree with the idea that the game doesn't really become challenging at all until you get into the harder versions of the I forget what the word is, what their word is for maps, but the echoes. When you start getting into the harder versions of the echoes, then it finally starts becoming somewhat of a challenge, but you've already put like a lot of time into your character by then, and if you're like me and you're not really interested in the endless grind of just constantly improving your character. You want to play the character and enjoy the character build, and then you get bored with the character and you're ready to move on to something else. If you're looking for variety, if you're someone like me and you're looking for variety, I see a thing over here. If you're like me and you're looking for variety, then, that's a problem. Like, you're not getting any kind of significant challenge out of your build. Your build is never facing any kind of a real significant challenge, right? So, you spend the entire game, and by the time you finally get to the part where there is a challenge, you're kind of done with your character by then. You're ready to move on to something else. So you never get to the part where, the character experiences any kind of a challenge.
That's done it.
I feel like...
Back to the main ship.
I feel like Last Epoch is too far on one side, and I feel like Path of Exile is too far on the other side. I really wish that, I would prefer it if both games just kind of met in the middle and offered you different themes on the same gameplay experience. What do I mean by that? Last Epoch and Path of Exile and Diablo are all basically the same game. Just if you break it down to the fundamental level, they're basically the same game. They're basically the same story. They're different. The things that are different about, there's a big bad that you're supposed to go after, right? It's basically the same story. If you break it down to its most elemental level, they're basically the same story. So the thing that differentiates Diablo from Path of Exile from Last Epoch is the world that you're in, right? So even if I had more or less exactly the same gameplay experience, same level of difficulty, same challenge, same everything, if each of those games, I would go to each of those games still because I want the world that they're in. It's the lore and the monsters and the different settings and all of that stuff. It's the story behind that, the individual variations on the story that they provide is what makes those games fun. It's not the gameplay, because they're all the same game. They are all the same game. And so, I don't really want the gameplay between Diablo or Last Epoch or Path of Exile or any of that stuff to really be that different. Because I'm going to go to Last Epoch because I want the more fantastical world that is. The more, they have a much less gritty. Let's see, you have Diablo, which is pure horror, basically, right? Then you have Path of Exile, which is more like dark fantasy. So think, there's a difference between a pure horror, demons and stuff killing you versus, underworld, vampire, that kind of stuff, and then the high fantasy, Forgotten Realms and stuff that Dungeons and Dragons and stuff is mostly known for, right? They're different attitudes towards the same kind of experience, right? And it's the same thing with Path of Exile, Last Epoch, all that stuff. I want all three games to have significant challenges contained within them, but not to the point where the entire game just becomes a slog because it's all challenging. I don't want it to be that way. That's boring. That's why people complain about it, because we don't want the entire game to be, something where I have to worry about whether I'm going to die or not. I'm supposed to be a badass, right? I'm supposed to be the hero of this story. The vast majority of my experiences should be me steamrolling over everything, punctuated by, oh crap, I've just run into something that I actually have to pay attention to. I think that's the way it should be. And I think that most people will be far more content with that than with this idea that all combat needs to be meaningful. My opinion, how I think about it, I think it's based in some serious reality, and I think that, anybody who isn't captured by one specific game or another would probably agree with that assessment. If you're a die-hard Path of Exile or Diablo or Last Epoch fanboy, then obviously you think the game is perfect as it is. Fine. I disagree. But anyways, I've run out of time for this episode, so hopefully you guys had lots of fun. Be sure to click the like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Join as a member for early access to videos, among other perks, or you can just leave YouTube's version of a tip with the thanks button. I also have PayPal and Patreon links for those of you who prefer to go that route, because some people do like to go outside of YouTube to help out with channels, so those options are there for your convenience. So again, thank you very much for your time. I hope you guys come back for whatever our next video may be, and I'll see you then.